Hi guys, and welcome back to Binecom Draws, and welcome back to the part 2 of this video called How to Draw Space and Sky Paintings. In part 1 of this video, I talked about how to create a sky painting, and now I want to talk about how you can create a space painting. If you haven't seen the first video, I recommend that you do that before you watch this one. But if you're not interested in creating a sky painting and you're here because you like the space painting, then by all means stay tuned here. I just want to quickly recap that I am using my own brushes for this tutorial, which means that if you are not interested in using my brushes for creating space paintings, you will have to go in and find the original brushes in the original Procreate program and try and see if you can match the brushes that I use. So if you're already now thinking that this sucks, I'm not going to use those brushes, am I going to be able to use this tutorial for anything? Yes, I am still going to talk about useful tips in terms of composition, color, everything that you want to know in terms of how to create a space painting. I'm just saying that I felt the need to create my own brushes to draw this because I did not feel that the original brushes in Procreate were enough. Far from it, actually. And how could it be? Because obviously they can only create so and so many brushes. So now for the space painting. As I did with my sky painting, I am going to start out with a very rough sketch of what I want to draw. And I already have my mind on drawing a galaxy seen from afar. So let's try and see if we can somehow nail that. Now, when I make a sketch like this, just like with the sky painting, I just very quickly want to get a sense of where I want to go with this drawing just for myself. For you guys, it might not look like anything in particular, and it's not really meant to. It's only for myself, so I know where I'm going with this. Now, I kind of want the view on this galaxy to be like a bit on a diagonal, and I want it to be a side view so you can sort of maybe get a feeling like you're looking directly into it. I was just trying to show you guys the perspective that I want to work on. Now the next step is of course to create a layer, put it under the sketch, pick a space color, and of course I stick with a very dark blue, like leaning towards a bit of a purple in it. And this is sort of the space atmosphere, which is behind the galaxy. But I still want there to be a little bit of color in this space surrounding the galaxy. So I'm gonna go with some interesting colors for this one. I already have in my head that I want a blue, like on the left here. And then I kinda want a contrast color on the right. But before I put in that contrast color, I'm gonna go with this purple. And then have the contrast and also complementary color. For those of you who know your color scale, you will know that orange and blue are complementary colors. And they're on opposite sides of each other on the scale. That is also why I use the word contrast, because they will contrast each other on the color scale. So as you can see here, I have a pretty intense color in the middle of the galaxy. And I'm emphasizing that with a sort of yellow core in the middle. A galaxy tends to look like a really big solar system. So you have to imagine that you have the sun in the middle. Although we do know now, because of all the research, that in the middle of the galaxy is actually probably a supermassive black hole full of energy. So that is probably what is in the middle of our galaxy right here. But the colors I have on this layer, they are going to be my main colors for this entire picture. And for now, I don't need much more than this. And then I'm gonna go to the Nebula Fog airbrush. It's not that different from the first airbrush that I used in this picture. But now I'm just gonna go in and draw in what is going to be the base of my nebula clouds in this galaxy. And I know, guys, right now it maybe looks a little bit of a mess, but it will all make sense. Then I'm gonna go to the fog cloud brush, or maybe the fog dense. Yeah, we're gonna use the long cloud. In the previous video, you saw me using this for clouds in the sky, but you can also use it for nebula clouds. And if you twist the canvas a little bit, you can see you twist the brush as well. This is pretty important because I want the nebula clouds here to be in the same diagonal as the galaxy itself. First, I put in some darker clouds, that is to give a little bit of shadow contrast. And now I want to put in the lighter nebula clouds on top of it. And I'm trying to mix and match those two fog brushes that I have. And this is a bit of, trial and error to see what works. I also have this called the Milky Way Dust Compact. And it's a little bit of a scatter spray brush, you can sort of say. And you can see when I use it here that it has a little bit of texture to it, so it looks like tiny specks of, dust and everything. And you can sort of imagine, now that we're drawing a galaxy, that this is actually a lot of tiny stars in this galaxy, because as we know, in a galaxy you have all kinds of little solar systems running around, which are basically stars. And now I'm also trying to make some variations in color. So I have the orange here, kind of a peachy orange. And I'm just gonna get a lot of texture in there. Now we're gonna create a new layer. I just want to move it a little bit first, like that. To give it a feeling of like we're in the universe, I picked my star brush. And I want to give the background these stars. That is really gonna add so much more to this picture. And as you saw before, the layer right now is almost at the bottom. We still have the dark blue atmosphere and the universe in the background. Now, when you apply these stars, don't just drag the brush like this, or it will create a brush in itself. You have to dot them on. And remember to change the brush size as you do this along the way, because that will create a lot of variety. But really right now it's a process of dotting in these stars. I think this is, apart from the cloud brushes, this is one of the brushes that I wanted the most, because every time I had to create a sky, I had to sit with a single pen and a single brush and then dot in these stars, which of course when I created this brush I had to do, but then when I saved the brush, I just had it. And it really shortens down the amount of time that I spend on these pictures. And as you can see, just adding those stars and having that variety in the brush itself, where you sometimes you have a bigger star, then you have a smaller one, it really adds. What I just did there, I turned down the opacity before and then I added it in. That gives the feeling that some of these stars are further away. And then when you turn up the opacity and you plot in the stars, they seem clearer, and those are the stars that are closer to you. Now you can still go to the singular stars, which is a brush I created with just one star on the tip of the brush. And you can use that to create star strokes or stars that are more distinct. And that's just if you guys want to go in and add a little bit extra. I think it's nice to have those bigger stars amongst the small ones. And don't be afraid of making the stars cluster a little bit. It's not about putting out the stars in, perfect order or anything, because the universe is full of chaos. So having some stars closer together and some one a bit more scattered is really what is going to make your picture look a bit more realistic in a way. If we go back into the multiple stars and we go and make a layer on top of everything. Remember I said the stars before, we put them almost at the bottom, which means that they're behind the galaxy itself. Okay, what we're gonna do now, we're gonna take the Nebula fog brush and then we're gonna find the kind of color we want to draw out. And then we're gonna draw in that extra light in the middle of the galaxy like this. And just like you saw before, we put this layer in overlay mode. Every time you have to draw out a light or saturate a color, you put it in overlay. And then when you put that overlay layer on top, it emphasizes the color you have underneath. Now what I'm doing now is I'm taking one of my sketch brushes. Again, this is one of the brushes that I used in my previous video for creating clouds, but I just used it here to create a better fog. I'm switching now to a fog brush, and still in overlay mode, I'm drawing in a little bit of nebula fog, and I'm not afraid here to make it a little bit bigger and just smudge it all over the place, because I trust the colors that I have underneath now. I even want to draw in a little bit of texture in the sky here. And because I already created the colors that I want underneath, it's just a question of drawing them out now. I think overlay mode when you're creating space paintings is an absolutely essential part of creating space paintings. Now I'm creating another overlay mode. And I picked a sketch brush, and now I'm going to go into the core of this galaxy and then draw in. Actually, I don't quite know what it is, but I've noticed that in most galaxies you have kind of like this, kind of looks like a nebular web. Just like in a brain you have all these nerves running around, signals lighting up the brain and everything. I kind of imagine it's the same with the core of the galaxy. You have all of these threads, nerve threads, signals that runs across, and I just think it will look really cool for this picture. And you can see when you zoom out, it gives it some extra details and some extra texture, and it gives you the feeling that something is going on inside of this galaxy. And then I'm also just gonna draw in other small, we could say, solar systems, or it could be black holes surrounded by energy fields. I just want some stuff to go on inside of this galaxy so it doesn't just become the center that is, in the focus. No doubt that the center is the focus of this picture, but it doesn't, it's okay that there are some, things going on in the outskirts as well. Now, I just picked a brush from the Luminance brush set that is in the original set of Procreate. And they created something called Nebula. So this is actually a space brush created by Procreate itself. And I kind of like it. So I'm just going to use it to add a little bit of extra, let's just call it space fog. And remember, I am still in overlay mode. Now, I'm very careful with this Nebula brush from Procreate not to press too hard, because just like I said in the previous video with the sky brushes, with the original cloud brush in Procreate, it's a little bit too realistic. It's the same with the Nebula brush here. So if you press too hard, it becomes too realistic for what I want to draw. From now on, it's actually just a matter of going in and adding and rendering your picture. And right now I am doing it with a fog brush. I'm putting in some darker areas and combining it with highlights. As you can see, it's a little bit trial and error. I don't want to make it too light. I want there to be contrasts in it. And when you're working in overlay mode, because everything happens so fast, you create such a different so fast, you can be kind of caught in it. So it's like, oh, it looks so pretty, and more light, more highlights. But sometimes less is more, so don't get caught up in that overlay mode. Now I'm adding yet another layer of overlay. As I said before, space paintings and overlay mode, they go hand in hand. And now I'm taking my paint star and I'm just toying a little bit with, should I draw something in the middle? I'm imagining now maybe kind of like a thread is running through the galaxy. It looks kind of cool. Don't know if I want to follow through with that though. Maybe I just want there to be some kind of detail and flare in the middle. So if we turn this up, you can see I did a little test right there. If we put that in the middle, you can see it sort of shines like that. That looks kind of cool, but less is more. And then we can turn it in the direction that we would want it in. Now I think I'm gonna leave my painting there. I kind of feel like I achieved what I wanted with this. And as you can see, it took me, what, 20 minutes to do this? Maybe less, because I talked a lot. And it was fairly easy to do with these brushes and also with these techniques. So I hope that this will encourage you guys to, try and draw your own space paintings. And if you're a little bit nervy and unsure about drawing something from scratch, then there are 100 of cool space paintings or even pictures of space that you can look at and then maybe draw some inspiration from. And I would say that the most important thing here is knowing how to work with the overlay layers and then working with the light and the color. So if you make a really solid color layer underneath of all of this, then you can definitely draw something on top of this and overlay, and you can draw out this spectacular view of colors that a galaxy has, or any kind of space. Oh, and also before I forget, I also have these lightning brushes. Now, I haven't exactly done anything in these tutorials where they have been usable, so I'm just going to very, very quickly demonstrate it. So here we have our cloud. So what you can do with these thunder lightning bolt thingies is that you can attach them to whatever cloud you have in your picture. Now, I have one called lightning and then 1 and 2. And the first one is the most aggressive one. So what you do is you pick a color that you want it to be in. You decide how large you want it. A bit too small maybe. And then you just put it in like that. Figure out where you want it. And that will be your lightning. Now if you want something smaller, you got one there, sort of medium. And then this is, wouldn't say this is smaller, it's just different. And those are the free kinds of lightning brushes that there are. I'm just quickly going to demonstrate it like a little bit bigger. So that is lightning 2, 1. Depending on how you use them, you can always go in and tweak them around a little bit, like maybe add some more to it. Maybe you can take an airbrush, you can illuminate them a little bit more like that. It's up to you. I just made them because why not? So all I want to say now is thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, give it a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, do that if you want to, and if you want to support my channel. I am soon up to 9,000 subscribers, which is amazing. I didn't think that I would ever get to that level when I started uploading videos to YouTube. The fact that you want to watch me draw and listen to what I have to say is pretty amazing, and I so appreciated you guys. And even though I don't have time to answer all of the comments on my videos, just know that I read them and I appreciate them, and it means the world to me. So thank you so much. Have a very lovely and artful day. Bye!